Hey, what's up, Instagram? This is part 2 of the little talk about some Bucktails and Magictail products, some Mojo talk. We're going to have Dante from Magictail jump back on here. We just had a first little session. We kind of ran out of time. Going to jump back on. Hopefully you guys were part of that first kind of conversation. I think there was a lot of good, valuable content that was being shared. I think that, maybe, hopefully you think that. And we're going to archive this on YouTube too, so you'll have the ability to watch this or share it at a later date. So just to go back a second, there were some questions that I was answering before. And one of the ones I really skipped over and I missed that was very important was a question about Fluke. Fluke is one of the most popular species for us here in New Jersey, obviously elsewhere in the Northeast as well. And the angler or the person, the follower, messaged us and said, when is Fluke season? And what is the Fluke season regulation this year? So for New Jersey, I'm speaking New Jersey only. It's the only reg that I know. I'm not, we're based in New Jersey. I don't know the other states, but you can obviously look it up online. New Jersey kept all the regulations for Fluke the same. So that's the season, the minimum size length, and the krill limit, the bag. So that being said, 18 3 fish. And I gotta look here, it's May 22nd to September 19th. So I forget who that was, where that question came from. I can look it up on my computer here. I can screenshot it, but recap, same exact size and bag as 2019. Just they adjusted those dates a little bit to fit in with the calendar. So it's May 22nd, which is coming up soon, to September 19th. And, that being said, some of this bucktail talk is going to be kind of themed around fluke fishing, yeah. The hoochies would definitely be a popular fluke bait, but not all bucktails are specifically for fluke. And it's somewhat, in my opinion, it's somewhat of a common kind of unknown thing or kind of misrepresented thing where bucktails are really the primary lure or the jig for fluke fishing. And it is definitely a very, very popular lure, probably the most popular for fluking. I mean, guys aren't casting poppers and swimming plugs for fluke, so it makes sense. But don't overlook, if you're an angler out there listening, do not overlook that. Don't overlook that you have only used fluke. You've only used bucktails for fluke. Don't overlook them for striped bass and other species, like bluefish too. So we're gonna jump on here, get Dante back on board. He's having a couple cold drinks here, waiting for Magictails. So anybody doesn't know Magictail, Dante, yo, dude,
yo,
staying festive.
Gotta be safe, bro.
Gotta be safe.
Swags, I wore the hat for you.
There we go.
I wore the mask for my boy Max.
There we go. So, dude, wait, show us the striper that's on the wall. You got the striper right there, no? And the tuna? There she is.
64 pounds.
Woo! Not many guys have a 60 on the wall, let alone a 64.
And the good thing is, I got 2 scotches for this combo. So we're good shit.
I'm staying fresh with my lemon here. My lemon and water. I might go crack a cold one just to join in on this. So dude, let me know what you're thinking. If you got any specific topics you want to talk about, or really I should reach out to the followers. If you guys got some things, some questions you want to throw at me or Dante here, please send them our way, and we'll try our best to interact and try to answer some questions and maybe kind of get some back and forth feedback going. So Dante, you kind of got the floor, man. It's your time to talk about your products, about what you do, whether it's what you have love for in fishing, targeting this species, that species, how you like to approach fishing. I definitely wanted to ask a little bit about, this is one question, whether you want to answer it now or later. One question about fishing rigs and fishing jigs, and kind of like, is there a point in time, and this could be fluke, this can be tog, you can take it into any species you want, but kind of when is it that you, in your head, you approach a situation as the angler and obviously a lure maker, and say, today, these conditions are happening, I'm fishing a jig first, or I'm fishing a rig first, or is it a personal preference? I like to do one over the other, and then there's a fail safe where you fall back on it. So if you could elaborate or share some intel,
Yeah, yeah.
let me know.
Oh, now are we talking about blackfishing?
I'm I'm open. I'm open for anything, but I'm saying rig,
So
like fishing a rig for blackfish or a jig for blackfish, or if you want to even go deeper in, you want to say a rig for fluke and a jig for fluke.
okay.
See what you got.
All right. Well, first we'll start with the blackfish. That is something that over the last 4 years I really got back into hard. Um, some of you guys know Michael Yako. His father, actually, we were blackfishing 25 years ago with him. And, the fishing then is completely different than it was now. I mean, we fished 20-pound mono. I mean, there was no braid then. There was no jigs. We fished mono, 20-pound mono. And, we caught some nice fish, but we broke off a lot of big fish.
Yeah.
Where, we didn't have the hooks that we had now. We're fishing with
The tackle's totally different.
the tackle's completely different. We didn't have to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning to get to the spot we wanted to be at now. We wake up, we go get crabs. We didn't buy crabs. We went in 30 feet of water, dropped down the pole traps and loaded up a bucket full of rock crabs and calico crabs. But now obviously, the demand for blackfishing is something that I've never seen before. I mean, literally, look at Mike Kelly. Mike Kelly's an awesome dude. I fish with him. I mean, he'd never even fished down in Virginia before. I'm sorry, Maryland. And then look, he's booking trips. People are willing just to go anywhere to go blackfishing. They're willing to spend the money. So it's definitely, a sport right now that I think is on the forefront of fishing. A lot of the striper, the surf casting, unfortunately, that was my thing for the last 15 years, but it's changed. It's changed for, in my opinion, for the worse, obviously. As a business guy, it's, I tread lightly in some things I say, but, the going out, learning how to fish and, finding a bite and fishing, it's gone. There's just, everybody's now is an internet hero. Everybody now could go get their ODM rod and be the best surf caster out there, So it's like I gave up on it. So, it's I stuck more to the boat now with the blackfishing, and it's been a lot of fun. Rigs are phenomenal. Okay, they've caught 10 billion blackfish over the years. Since actually John Knight of what's his name? You know his name, Greg. Tails. Okay. He actually invented the blackfish jig. I didn't invent the blackfish jig. I was asked actually by Bob Mizak. You know Mizak.
Yep.
About 5 years ago, he asked myself and he asked Stan of S&S Bucktails. I think the wife's drinking now. This might get bad. This might get bad tonight, boys. But
so what did he ask you guys? He says make some Tog jigs.
He actually wanted us to, he wanted us to make him a couple jigs that he could fish off the Barnegat Jetty for sheephead. Sheephead, because I know he was, into that back then. He caught a couple big fish, and
it was the popular thing too.
Yep. So I actually made them at that time. The only, I'm gonna plug my phone in real quick so it doesn't die. But the only jigs that were made at that time were like a llama bean head, and a banana head,
and that's what everybody used.
That's it. That's all there really was. And talking to a couple of my shop friends, when he first came out with that, I think it was about 10, 12 years ago. They used to fish them up in the Sound first. But when he started coming down here, it was real popular for a while, and then it died off. Also, you have to remember, nowadays fishing is not really about what works as much as, who's pushing what on social media. So social media is a huge trendsetter right now. You get a couple guys on there catching big fish on a certain product, and now everyone wants it. I mean, take a look at John Skinner, okay? Not to knock John Skinner. I'm sure he's a very good fisherman. But he could pretty much take a piece of shit and put a hook on it and go online and sell it. And right now, everyone's going to buy it.
It's gold.
it's what it is, what it is, you know. So, you know, but the Blackfish jig over the rig, I would say I like it better. I'm very biased, obviously. I designed my own jig. I took a jig that was already out there, and in my opinion, I made it better. After fishing, you know, that's a whole nother topic, but I fish a jig 100% of the time. There are times that I fish that a rig is a better situation. But to me, what does it matter if I catch a fish on a rig? I don't make rigs, so I fish a jig. You know,
That's
so
for sure.
you know, so it is what it is. I mean, so as far as a jig in New Jersey waters, like Swags just said, 99% of the time, I'm going to be able to outfish somebody with a jig over a rig. Okay, so not every time.
You're gonna have more fun doing it too.
You know, and have a lot more fun. You know, you're fishing
That's
fin
fun,
tackle,
right?
you're fishing light, you don't snag much. You get 10-1 bites over a rig. Now, as I started fishing more in Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia the last couple of years, I really didn't see the benefit of the jig, unfortunately, as much as I would like. It worked. I caught some nice fish. I caught that 15.5 this year, but I caught that 15-pound 5 tog 4 days, 4 trips with Mike Kelly.
Really?
And that was the first fish I caught on a jig.
Oh.
And I mean, the fishing wasn't great, but guys on the rig were catching fish. You know what I mean? And they were definitely out fishing me. But
Yep.
again, you know, it's, to me, I'm going to fish what I make. So I'm not going to sit there and switch over to a rig, you know, when I'm selling jigs. So to me, that's what I'm going to do. So in the shallower water, up to about 90 feet, 80, 90 feet, the jig is just phenomenal. Some things where it kind of takes away from it is current, okay?
Okay.
Current is the biggest thing, and wind too, okay? Why I'll say that real quick is if you have a hard crosswind, okay, it's blowing a bow in your line.
Yeah.
When you have a bow in your line and an ounce to 2 ounce, you know, head, it's moving it. You can't really fish the jig correctly. You don't feel the bites. And then another time when you have current, it makes it extremely tough because you want to fish a jig really straight up and down. Okay, you can fish it on a little bit of an angle, but the correct way, in my opinion, is to fish it up and down. So, again, you know, I know some of these guys on here. Tommy just said something. Tommy's a great, you know, tog fisherman. He goes all over Maryland. You know, those guys, I mean, the world record holder, Westerfield, he fishes a rig, he fishes a jig. You know, those guys are fishing more down south for their big fish. You know, down south is great.
So how many foot of water are you in down there? Because I've never fished down there.
I fished down there. I think the shallowest I ever fished in the winter was about 90 to 100, and the deepest was 160.
Really? Yeah.
You know, so it's deep. So it's tougher to fish a jig. You need perfect situations. You know, you need no current and like not a big swell. You know, so it's tough, but you know, they both have their time and place. Just pretty much like anything, just like striper fishing. Whether you're throwing bunker or, you know, clams or plugging, they both have their time and place.
Yeah.
I mean, let's take a look back at 10 years ago when you, me, Blake, you know what I mean? Like at the time we were friends, but we weren't like we were now. Every night you guys used to smoke them on the jetty on eels, right? Back when it was fish around. And I'd be wetsuiting that bar, smoking 10, 15 fish a night on bunker heads.
Yeah, they both work.
They both work in different situations, you know, like, you know, but, you know, you to be really good, you got to be very versatile, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I'm biased because I don't, you know, I'm biased. I don't care. I want to fish my stuff. But as a angler, the best way is to be versatile and be able to use everything you can, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely.
You know, and just like anything, I see Adam on here talking. You know,
yeah, he's definitely the king ball buster of the year.
Well, I mean, listen, Adam's a ball buster, but he's a great angler. You know, he's done it all, from the boat, from the surf. You know, I mean, he knows. You know, some days he's an artificial guy. Some days you're gonna go out there, artificial is gonna be the way it is. Some days guys who are trolling meat are gonna smoke you.
Yeah.
You know, so it is what it is. You know, but you know, like I said, always a time and place for everything.
So to jump back on the bucktail thing a little bit, not to get too far off onto say Tog, could you just share a little bit about like when a customer's say selecting a bucktail? I don't really mean to be kind of getting too like picky or like the prima donnas where it's like with some lure makers, they look and say, oh, there's a little blemish here, blemish there. I don't want this, I don't want that. But what do you look for like when you make your own bucktails? You're making hundreds, if not thousands, and millions of bucktails. What do you look for when you grab a bucktail when it's not just the weight? Like, do you look for like hair length, how bushy or like more dense the hair is, how more sparse? Like, do you find? I mean, I have my own feelings and opinions, but I was thinking maybe you could share about a couple of things that you might feel like, hey, I look for a bucktail, in different variations, and these are some to look for.
Okay, now that's a great question, and it's kind of tough to answer because I learned 4 years ago that if I made what I fished, I'd be out of business a long time ago. And that's the truth because, what I fish and the ways I fish aren't necessarily what people want to buy. And on a bucktail, it's a prime example, okay? I know Blake's on here. I make, these 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce shrimp bucktails.
Yep.
If I put them on the wall, people will be like, what is that? They got 10, 12 pieces of hair and one flash on it. But you know what? When you're fishing and they're eating grass shrimp, that's what they want.
Yeah.
And then like as far as sparse bucktails and, a lot of hair, I don't necessarily like a lot. Obviously, listen, deer tail is buoyant, okay? Yep. So when you're fishing around rocks, that's where this whole thing started up in Mondo. You want a lot of hair because you want your plug high in the water column. Not your plug, your jig. So, you might need, I remember you talking about it before, punching on that 2 ounce, 2 ounce, 3 ounce bucktail head. But the problem is it's only 6 feet deep, so that's heavy. So
yep.
What I've always done, okay, is I don't fish any pork rind. I know me and Blake have had these conversations. I fish a bucktail and I fish a curly tail only. That's all I fish. And I would say the reason why that's how I'm fishing is I don't have the opportunity, unfortunately, where I fish 90% of the time to go out and catch 30 fish a tide, where I need to go through 10 baits. You know what I mean? Yeah. If I lived in Montauk, or lived up somewhere where I go out every session and catch 40, 50 fish, maybe I wouldn't be throwing that. But where I'm fishing, the action of a regular gotcha curly tail is unbeatable.
Yep.
And what I do.
Something about that. So I'm not sure everybody knows that a jig strip or a silicone-based strip like this is very, very durable. Even bluefish, a toothy critter, can really chew on this. I mean, I can even pull this on the hook. I'm really pulling this pretty hard, and it's not ripping off. With that said, a gotcha curly tail, which I'm hoping everyone's familiar with, looks just like a grub that you see from Gulp or something like that, a swimming mullet. It's different shapes, different lengths, different colors, what have you. Is much, much softer, has a little better action.
Yeah.
But Dante mentioned is a little more prone to getting ripped off by the fish, whether it's being bit off, by bluefish or being kind of ripped and just beat up. So I really think you elaborated on that very well. Kind of the details with that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and like another thing. So, I see some of the people commenting on here, and
Zoom Flukes. Whew.
Now, Brian Seville, I don't know. You guys probably don't know Brian Seville.
I don't. He's dialed in if he knows about Zoom.
Dialed in.
One thing, just to reach out about Zoom real quick. I was told, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I believe the guy just died recently, the founder of the company. I believe they're one of the only fishing companies to never, ever spend $1 on pro staff or marketing. All the pro staff guys that came to him were friends, and I think he gave him product, didn't actually pay. And I'm talking for bigger companies. This is saying something.
Yeah, it is.
Didn't actually say, here's a check for, whatever, this full page article you wrote, or here's a check for this or that. but I was told Zoom never spent their advertising budget like didn't exist. And for a huge company like Zoom, I don't know how big they were, but I think they're pretty big. You know, it's saying something that they make a product, a soft bait, and obviously lots of them for freshwater, saltwater, everything in between, that really took, I would say, the world by storm, some tournaments by storm for many years. And without having an advertising budget, it's kind of something that was almost impossible in a previous time. I mean, nowadays with social media, with blogs, with all these videos and people sharing information so fast and rapidly, that it's easy to do something like that today. But in the days of when Zoom was just coming out and really in their prime, in their heyday, yeah, fishing was good, much better maybe in a lot of different ways. Maybe fishing is better in some ways now. But they did a lot with less. Just something I know about Zoom. And I know Blake, particularly Cedar Run Lures, turned me on to that split tail trailer. And obviously that Zoom Fluke has been a staple too. Those are two, I think, some of my best catching soft baits. But yeah, just to get a little off topic, sorry.
Yeah, hands down. And Zooms, I mean, they're on the very top of the list for weak fish baits.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not too many weak fish baits out there that can fish the Zoom. But, you know, going back to Sivo real quick, who said that, he's actually an angler in Connecticut I've known for probably 8 years now.
Awesome.
He is the top of the top when it comes to some of the best surf casters in the world, without a doubt. I mean, he was, you know, he won the that On the Water tournament. He puts up a couple 50s and 40s every year. So he knows his thing. I'm glad he's on here watching.
Right on. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, like
maybe he wants to join on sometime, man. We'd love to ask you a questions. Maybe he doesn't let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, back to the curly tail. Now, here's one thing that I do, okay?
Yeah.
When I have to push out a bucktail a little further, like those days where it's northeast here, I fish 90% of the time a 6-inch gotcha curly tail.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when I'm fishing maybe like a teardrop, like you were talking about, like a 1/2 ounce or 3/8 on those calm days in the fall when there's all the little rats, I fish maybe like a 4-inch.
Okay.
But what I do when the surf's rough and I need to use bigger, I fish the big 8-ounce fat-bodied curly tail.
Okay.
And the reason I
said ounce, you're saying inch.
8-inch. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's the bigger, thicker, longer grub.
And yeah, it's a bigger grub, way bigger. And I'll go back to that real quick. But what it does is plastic is buoyant. Okay. Pork rind, jig strips are not buoyant. Okay. So when you cast, it's sinking like a rock. Whereas when I'm fishing that soft plastic, it wants to float.
Yeah.
Okay. If you throw it in the water with nothing on it, it's going to float.
Yeah.
So that big 8-inch, you know, 3/4 inch, you know, gets it up. So I could fish it more effectively. Now, also, on the other note, when you're fishing a pork rind, a jig strip, and knock them, because I've caught fish on all of them. I haven't really fished jig strip too much, but I fish. Bruce is a friend of mine.
He makes
from Ottertails.
Yeah.
So he's given me a bunch of stuff, and I've caught a lot of fish on the stuff. The only negative thing on my end is 2 things. The bucktail is thin as shit. It's got no meat and potatoes to it.
Yeah.
Okay? And 2, they cast like shit. You know, they just don't.
Right.
They just don't cast
Yeah.
like a curly tail.
See, I always find myself trimming some of these wider strips, like this one, which is like a 70S shape. I always tend to be trimming them shorter and more narrow to kind of get that distance. Can you give me a drink? Beer. So yeah, that's one of the things that I've noticed is that wide kind of body profile can really affect that cast and hurt your distance, which sometimes that's everything you need to kind of reach out there. What does that sound?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you take, okay, here's something about a bucktail that not many people really understand and know.
Hold on. Somebody already. No, I'm trying not to bother you about it.
Tell her it's
Let's ask a
backwards.
question how my son is. My son is doing amazing. I don't know if this looks backwards.
It's backwards.
Yeah, it looks backwards. Yeah, so our son is doing amazing. He's a 7-month-old baby boy, and he's the joy of our life. So thank you for asking. I'm not sure who asked it, but my wife was watching, so she followed along.
Mel's the best.
Mel is the best. I'm hoping she grabs me a nice ice cold beer, so I'll have to check off of here and then. But yeah, so back to what you're doing, because this is some good intel.
Yeah.
Here.
So something I want to talk about a bucktail that not a lot of people understand. When you see a bucktail, do you have a bucktail there, Greg?
Absolutely. You're looking for like the old classic.
Anything. Just
smile and bill.
Okay. That bucktail. Hold the head. I want to look more at the hair. Okay. Do you see how that hair?
Off, because we're not talking about strips right now.
No, we're not talking about strips. So you see how that hair is?
Yeah.
That's how a bucktail looks in the water. People don't understand that. People think that when a bucktail is wet and when you take it out, it's not. It's like if you wet that bucktail right now and took it out of the water, it's going to be slim.
Yeah.
But
it puffs back up in the water.
In the water, a bucktail looks the same exact way as it does from there. Look at Mel.
So now you're saying that because I think you mentioned it before. That hair is hollow. That bucktail.
Correct.
The hair coming, obviously, it's hair from a deer's tail. It's natural hair. It's hollow and it holds air.
Correct.
And I think if we could get into talking about making bucktails, it's kind of one of those things we were talking about. How much hair is too much and how much is not enough when you're actually shopping and buying one. I think there should be some knowledge or some information that an informed consumer, an informed angler should know that he might want multiple 1-ounce bucktails. He might want a real sparse one. Like this one's kind of been chewed a little by some bluefish. It's got some chunks missing here. That wasn't like a defective, lightly, loosely tied bucktail. That was a kind of a fish kind of pulled it out. I mean, you glue these things, you build these things like tanks.
Well, I mean, here's the thing with that, okay? Here's the problem with bucktails, okay? And, I get people who send me messages, oh, my hair fell out. It happens. I mean, you're buying a $2-3 bucktail. This is what happens, okay?
But it's also the natural hair, too, as opposed to the synthetics.
So this is what happens and why a bucktail, okay, loses hair. When you tie a bucktail, okay, and it's completely tied, it's tight on the amount of hair that's on there. If you get a bluefish and it pulls out 10, 12 pieces of hair, the bucktail's ruined. Because what happens is the thread and the glue around it was based around a full bucktail. So once you lose a clump, it's all gone.
Yeah. One of the things I do just to be a cheapskate, just because I run in charge and I buy a bunch of bucktails from you, is when I do see I got a chunk out and I kind of feel it and I feel that collar's loose.
Yeah.
I'll put it aside. I have like a little, a plastic Plano box like this. I've got a few of them. I don't know if you can see that. Obviously, they're all Magictail headers in there. What I'll do is I have a little Zap-A-Gap, and when they dry, you can't do it when they're wet, but I'll save them, and then before I go out next time, like in the morning, I'll set one up for a client and say, hey, cast it over there on the side bag or cast it over there at that rip. Sometimes when I go to pull them out, I'll throw a couple of them in the dash of my boat, and while they're casting, I kind of get the boat situated. I'm kind of just like, enjoying the sunrise and kind of checking out some things, trying to look at the depth finder, see if I'm marking anything. I'll take that Zap-A-Gap and just put a couple drops on that collar and let it kind of soak in a thread and kind of fill that void up or zap that gap.
Zap-A-Gap is, it's an amazing product, Zap-A-Gap. And, all our Mojos, that's all that's on them.
Really?
All that's on them is Zap-A-Gap. Or not Zap-A-Gap, but Crazy Glue. Same. Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
Yep.
On our bucktails, we dip them. Going back to bucktails, Andrus bucktails. Andrus bucktails is a staple. They are the bucktail when people think about, bullet head bucktail.
Yeah.
And dude, I'll never knock any competition ever. That's not what I do. But they've caught millions of stripers. They're not the nicest looking bucktails,
but it's a bucktail.
It's a bucktail and it catches fish. But, what do you expect for a couple $? And the problem is, listen, if I was doing this as a hobby like I did, I could bring in 15 bucktails that are absolutely amazing. And epoxy them, all epoxy look good. But, unfortunately, when you're making, thousands of them, it's tough to do, so you're going to have some faulty bucktails, which to me, listen, I'm easygoing. Someone tells me, "Oh, I have faulty bucktail." I say, "Okay, what's your address?" I send them a couple new ones. It's not even worth the drama. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So
Fuck it.
one of these questions just came in from Jack and says, "Do marabou bucktails exist?" And I'm going to say the answer to that is yes. I don't want to get off topic and talk about Spro, but Spro offers one out of the package, you know, straight from the factory. For those who don't know, marabou is a natural, just like bucktail's a natural hair. Marabou is a natural feather hair. They also, I should say they, but bucktail makers also use other materials than just bucktail on a lead-headed jig. So a bucktail is really, it gets its name from the deer's tail, a white-tailed deer, sometimes northern, they'll call them northern bucktails because they're from the northern reaches in North America. They have larger deer there. Larger deer get longer hair, bigger bucktails need more length. It looks kooky to have a 3-ounce bucktail with 1.5 inch hair. It's got to extend past the hook shank, past the bend, I should say. But that being said, to answer that question there for Jack, yes, marabou bucktails exist. You're probably not going to find them for every manufacturer. And if you're looking for like a 1-ounce bucktail, that doesn't exist that I'm aware of in the marketplace. If you want to do something like that, you definitely want to tie up your own custom. Maybe you could reach out to Magictails and say, hey, can you do a limited run of some marabou bucktails? I know you definitely use like schlappen and hackles sometimes to add a little extra length or add a little extra
I did.
flavor and flair.
Actually, when we started, to be honest with you, the way we came into this business, which is kind of funny, me and Svet were fluke fishing. And when she moved in with me, I guess it was in September of 2014? And we're down in Holgate fluking, and we're smoking fluke on bucktails. And, you know, she wanted to learn, so we kind of taught her how to tie some bucktails. And, you know, she was a natural. As soon as she made one, it was perfect. Everyone was. So 8 days later, we find out we're having a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, bad news.
Then the rest is history. Cranking out bucktails.
So I said, you know what? So I said, honey, I went away for a couple of days. I come back, there's 200 bucktails sitting there. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what are we going to do with all these? I said, so I'll put them online. I put them online. They sold in 30 minutes.
Really?
So we found out she was having a baby. I said, you know what? Make a couple bucktails. We'll sell a couple. Make a couple $1,000. We'll put it away for the kids' college fund.
Yeah.
And that's how it took off.
That's awesome.
I think the first year, what do we have, like 28 tackle shops sending us messages? You know, and one of the things that we did to get we started, I don't want to say we're the first person ever, but we're the first person to produce and like sell commercially with hackle bucktails.
Okay.
That's kind of,
you had to do yourself at home.
Yeah, that's like how we got into the market. You know, we started making different designs. Before us, it was white, black, yellow, you know, just plain bucktails, which worked just as good. But, you know, we tried to catch some more fishermen than the fish, you know. So, you know, that's kind of how we started. So, you know, hackle is phenomenal. Different situations, it worked great. The hackle on my teardrop, when we were fishing like the power plant, oh my God, catch 40, 50 fish on one bucktail, you know? So, you know, different marabou, different types of bucktails, they all work. But the problem is nothing is hollow like bucktail. So nothing is going to have the action, you know, of that bucktail hair. You know? So that's, you know, I mean, and it's funny, we're talking about bucktails now. My business is probably about 3 to 5% bucktails now.
Really?
That's it.
That's where it all started.
That's where it started. Yeah, I mean, that's how it started because I was a surf fisherman.
Yep.
You know?
I mean, but now you're dotted with Tog jigs, Mojos, Hookies,
the money is with Mojos, and you know,
it's also where fishing's at too. It seems like the trends, you know, Mojos came on strong here the last few years. They've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, but not really in this area. Say the last 10 years, it hasn't been a Mojo, you know, decade. But I'd say the last 5 years, they've really come on really, really strong, the Mojo.
Absolutely. And, you know, they say everything happens for a reason. And I'll be very honest with you right now. I mean, Svat and myself, we live a decent life from our business, from what we've grown it to, and that could never happen with Bucktails, never.
Yeah.
We got very lucky. I mean, the year I came in the business, the first full year I came in the business, Mojo's picked up huge, and Cape May and down there. And at that time, Jody with Blue Water Candy, he's my competitor, but he's
Great guy.
We work together. He's an awesome guy. Can't say a bad word about him. We work together. I kind of lucked out. I came into that market where people up here wanted the Mojo, and Blue Water Candy couldn't handle it. So, actually, I think, to be honest with you, even with you guys, right? The first thing we carried was the Mojo.
Mojos, yeah, because I had so many Bucktails, and I was like,
yeah.
Dude, I'm selling so many of Andrus, and I'm selling so many of Spro. I was like, bringing all your Bucktails in. Just bringing in the white Bucktail, there's no differentiation.
Yeah,
exactly. You make a great white Bucktail, but how many white Bucktails does a tackle shop need?
Correct.
You got Pros, you got Andrus, I got Andrus Beans, I got Andrus Balls, I got Andrus Jetty Casters. I mean, how many Bucktails do you need? So when we first talked about it, I'm like, yeah, man, I want to support you in every way as the local, maker. And that's when that Mojo craze took off. I mean, we couldn't keep in stock. We would get a delivery from Blue Water Candy on, let's say, a Thursday or Friday, and it'd be gone by Saturday morning. People would stroll in trying to get tackle on their way to going to the boat. It was sold out. I mean, that night, Thursday, it came in, it sold out Thursday or Friday. It came in Friday, it'd be gone. And it was kind of like that for a year or two.
That Mojo craze for the first couple of years was insane. Bob Duckenfield owned Shib's Bait and Tackle. He was actually my first tackle shop. He was the one who kind of got me into it. I remember he told me the first year, which was 2014, maybe 2015, one Saturday, he sold 750 Mojos.
Wow.
One day. I mean, that's how crazy it went, because he was making he was making them himself. He was doing everything, so it's I still sell a ton of them. It's Mojos are a phenomenal product, and the best part about it is they're idiot proof.
Yeah.
And when I say that is they really allow, listen, people have different skill levels in every aspect in life. Okay. I know a lot of people, Adam Shear, he'll be one of them. I hope he's still on here. He'll talk down to people trolling Mojos because he's a skilled angler and he can get them on plugs. But not everyone could do that. Not everyone has, the opportunity to go to the marina, get on a boat, go fishing. People work.
Yeah. Some people have the ability to find some of these hard to find plugs. They buy plugs.
Exactly. Not everyone has the lead. So they go out, they go buy a couple Mojos, they go troll, and they catch fish. Yeah. So it's really it's a staple now. It's been around here for 5-6 years. Maryland and Virginia, they've been using them for years. It's a simple lure, and I love them. I mean, it's pretty much what feeds my family. That's for sure.
Hell yeah! So I'm stoked to see you guys. You guys are making some awesome stuff, from like the bullets, the round head, big Mojos. You offer them in the tandems. So one of the things that I'm seeing is this trend of smaller and smaller Mojos.
Yeah.
And I know you said something to me that there was a trend last year that it was taking off, that guys are actually fishing these. Basically, you're bridging the gap between a big bucktail and a small Mojo with, I guess, what you call a casting Mojo, right?
Yep. So pretty much, really, all it really is, like you said, is a bucktail.
Yeah.
It's just a parachute jig, which in the water looks way bigger. So
real quick, can you tell us what a parachute jig is? How you tie it distinctly different?
Okay. So the only difference between, say, a bucktail and a parachute jig is how the hair is tied. Okay. That right there is tied on flat. Whereas a parachute jig or a Mojo, it's tied on reverse. So the hair is tied on tight, which gives it a big flare. And actually, I see on here, real quick, my two workers, Zach and Mateo.
Yeah, he said Hackle sucks. I saw that just a second ago.
You know, Zach and Mateo, without a doubt, are the only reason Magictail goes. So I give them 100% respect and love. And without them, there'd be no Magictails. So thank you, boys. And
so the guy Vin Haas, Jewelers Incorporated, says Magictails is manufactured in USA. So absolutely 100% local business, family business. How many workers you got? 3, 4?
We probably have about 6 people who work for us.
All right, six people deep. He's cranking out probably more Bucktails and Mojos than anybody else out there.
Well, let's put it this way. Mateo does about 1,000 Mojos a week.
Really?
Yeah.
Mojo Maestro.
I mean, he did 250 today.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, he's.
So there you go, Vin. He's cranking them out right here in New Jersey. He's based out of Tuckerton, New Jersey, right? You'd say that the shop's in Tuckerton?
Yo, you see that guy right now? Yo, you see the guy in there fishing, Captain Tommy Vera?
I'm trying to stay down further. Maybe, I'm not sure. No.
Yo, Tommy.
Yeah, fishing Captain Tommy.
He's the man, dude. Tommy, send my boy Greg one of your spoons. He owns Fisherman's Headquarters. He makes the Montauk secret spoons.
Oh, no way.
That's him, dude.
Right on. Yeah, so Jeffy got some of them. So
yes.
Jeff from Real Innovations. And he said that Tommy just doesn't sell his spoon to anybody.
No, he doesn't.
You got to talk to him. He gives you a little shakedown.
Tommy's the man.
If you pass the test, he'll send you some tackle. If not, no soup for you, man.
No. So listen, the first time I met Tommy, you know what he said? Hey, Dante, real Ginzo from fucking Brooklyn. He goes, hey, I need some fucking Mojos. I said, what do you need? He's like, give me 100 white and 100 shot. Tommy's a great guy.
That's awesome. Where does Tommy fish out of? Montauk?
Tommy is in Brooklyn, I believe. Right, Tommy? He could he'll be able to respond, but I'm pretty sure.
I was just curious, where that spoon evolved from. Maybe Bunker Spoon talks for another Instagram live session. Maybe Tommy wants to talk sometime about.
Yeah. We got to get Tommy on here, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Tommy's a good guy. Tommy, we got to get you on here one of these days. But Tommy, post a quick overview of where this Bucktails. I mean the spoons. I know you bought them from a guy. He makes everything in his basement, and every single spoon he makes, he hammers himself.
Really?
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy, but
puts the detail almost like a metalsmith would.
Yeah, we'll go on. We'll go on that. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, so Wags asked about Ocean Fluke, and I know there was another person that messaged. This was a while ago that we were kind of depth and flowing, and there's so many messages coming at once that it was kind of hard to kind of keep up, and I didn't want to kind of interrupt as we're flowing. So there's this person, Justin, asked about what depths you should target for Fluke. So I'll just kind of reach out and say, right now in the spring, in my opinion, you can catch him in the inlets to, in the 30, 40, 50, 60 foot of water. I don't think you need to venture much deeper than that in the central New Jersey area. Just fish those inshore wrecks, and you're going to find all the fish you need right now. It's always just getting out there quick because the season's short. There's only a few more days left. It ends at the end of April, and then it's kind of close season for a while.
Are we talking about togs?
Well, this message was specifically, it says what target depth for blackfish right now. So that's why I wanted to touch on that. Didn't want to leave them hanging. There's also something here about will you be covering anything about spring blackfishing? So that's from Justin. So just a heads up, Justin, we talked a little bit in the previous one, a little more about blackfish. In this one, maybe too. I kind of get the two confused. But Dante talked about his blackfish jig that is very, very effective. Talked about kind of some details with regards to that. So if you're still following here, Justin, I'm not sure if you checked off. Maybe you want to check back and rewatch this at a later date. If it's not listed on the Instagram live feed, I'll have it archived on YouTube as soon as possible. So basically, I don't want to dig through all these comments and waste too much time. I'd rather take Schwag's lead because he's an ambassador from the shop and he likes, following along and, helping out with messages and answering just like Schwag. Just like Max is doing. helping out as these questions come in. It's hard for me to interact with Dante and ask questions and follow along and answer, as well as picking my phone up and messaging. I'd be, kind of get you guys seasick. So maybe we talk a little about Fluke, because Fluke's coming up. I mean, it's what is it? Today's day. The date today is April 21st. Your birthday was yesterday, so happy birthday, dude. Happy belated birthday, Dante. I'm super stoked you had a nice, healthy birthday.
No corona.
Yeah, no corona. So many, many more to that. Cheers. I'll have a nice guzzle, my last guzzle here.
Yeah, but so real quick before we get on to the Fluke, I want to say two things.
Absolutely.
For your customers, Mateo and Zach had 4 drum tonight.
Well, let me pull out the pencil and pen. And
so that's a good report for you guys. They
I'm just curious. Can they confirm? Was this like right before sunset? Because the guy asked about a time.
always.
To me, that's my opinion. An outgoing tide.
Don't matter. Listen, as long as you have water, the best drum fishing from land is sun up and sundown.
That's the same thing with stripers too. Low light conditions.
Same thing with all fish.
Yeah.
Obviously right now it's tough to get clams.
Yeah.
So what we've been doing, and I don't know if you could sell these or not.
For chowders.
Chowders.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've always done that as like a substitute in the past, but this year a lot of these commercial clammers were kind of shut down because they didn't have the market open, whether they're selling direct to restaurants or to markets, and because of that, I know a couple of guys we reach out to regularly, like, hey, we're not clamming right now because we don't have a bunch of orders. A bushel for you and a bushel for him isn't going to cut the mustard. So maybe it started to kind of catch on a little bit more, and maybe these guys are starting to clam more. Maybe there's some more restaurants doing this curbside, that there's a demand again. So I'm happy to hear that they got the chowders and they're working, because a lot of people are looking at chowder and say, oh, that's not the right clam, and then
it's not the right clam, but it works. I mean, we're getting them from, they're getting them from Parsons.
Yep.
As far as the
that's the guy who delivered to us too.
If you need clams, let me know. My boy Duckenfield, he's the bait master.
Yeah.
He's getting like 50 bushels this week.
Cool. Yeah, I just got a call yesterday actually from the guy. He said he was going to head out this week too. So maybe we're talking about the same boat.
It is same boat in K-May.
Yeah.
The problem is, here's the problem. For them to go out, they need a very minimum 100 bushels.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. One of the things, like one of these messages came through, the guy Anthony asked about albies on a bucktail. So I'll answer that and say I catch a lot of albies, little flies, which are made with bucktail hair, little clousers, little surf candies. Sometimes the surf candy is made of synthetic hair, sometimes made out of natural bucktail hair. But yes, you can catch an albie on a bucktail. Most of the time, though, you're going to use a slender metal that's a little better of, say, a dart-like lure that's going to cast quicker, and it's going to dart through the water a little bit. Bucktails, in my opinion, are designed to more swing through and swim in the water column, kind of float along. When I say float along, not on the surface, but float along in the current in that zone. Where a dart-like lure, like a Hoagie epoxy jig, small diamond jigs, any kind of small metal, is going to be a much more effective lure for albies. But you can take it one step further and put a little pinch of bucktail hair on that hook and kind of set that little lure off. Give it.
Don't even waste your time with bucktails. Fish a metal or fish a Hoagie, fish an epoxy jig.
There you go.
Or you know what? Soft plastic is great too.
You're right.
You get a thin soft plastic. I know they make like Albie snacks and stuff like that, but I mean, listen. Anything works. You get a 5-inch sluggo, put it on a lead head.
Yeah. So Schwag said he wants to go clam, and so that is the case. But we're going clam to eat. I got my eyes set on some mussels that I think are somewhere locally around here. I think the warmer winter has the mussels on kind of at least on my menu. Some years I've found them, some years I haven't, and I think this is the year for mussels personally. But I was given some, and they were super good. So I'm going to try to get some. I'll probably bring some your way, Dante, if you like mussels. I hope you do.
I love mussels. There's not much I don't like.
So, dude, just to give you a heads up, Prince Edward Island mussels got nothing on LBI's mussels. These things were phenomenal. I don't know if you saw the photo I posted. I did a quick little butter, some onion, there's some shallots.
How are you dragging them?
No. You're wading in some waders on some sod banks and just latching on and ripping off a big clunk. And then you got to spend an hour ripping the moss off them and scrubbing them and cleaning them.
Are those the ones that like have like ripples on them?
They're smooth. They're smooth.
Okay. So those are the good ones.
They are the good ones. I don't know if I'm definitely going to find them, but they were not the rippled ones. I think those are – I'm not sure. I'm not a muscle, experienced muscle person. But Schwag and I, yes, Schwag, we're going clamming for sure. I'm definitely looking forward to – I hear you're making clam chowder, so I'm stoked to get some of that. And
yeah, I want some of that too.
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen this post.
We'll do a little barter system. So I know there's probably questions way up. A bunch came in there. I really don't want to dig back up to that. But I think that if there's a little bit, if there's a little bit of talk you can throw in there about Fluke, just because it's basically 1 month away. So tomorrow will be exactly 1 month to Fluke season, if you can believe that.
Crazy.
Yeah. So basically Fluke season's here. And with the COVID-19, everybody's on quarantine. The beaches are closed for the most part. The access is limited except for the private boats, people that want to get out in a boat, 1 or 2 person, keeping it, distance, safe and social distance. I think Fluke season is going to be the primary kind of escape for all anglers to get out. Yeah, you might get out and do some striped bass fishing, this and that, but we're talking about the summertime. If these beaches are closed, and I truly deep down inside hope they're not closed all summer, but if they need to be, they are. How do anglers get out this summer and enjoy themselves, get some fresh air, and not be cooped up inside, say, a house when the sun's out all day in the summer? It's one thing when it's wintertime. A month ago when this first started, the days were so short. Cooped up inside at home wasn't that big of a deal. But we're all noticing that as these days get longer and longer, it's becoming more difficult. And, we're all becoming vegetables, not getting sunlight, not getting some exercise, not getting the work done that we're used to seeing. So I think people are going to get out in Fluke. So if there's anything you can share in your opinion about your products and Fluke fishing, I would like to hear, because I know you're probably the #1 seller in terms of products other than Gulp. For Fluke in this kind of day and age, it's all about bucktails and jigs, I should say, because it's also hoochies, which for anybody who doesn't know is just a silicone skirted lead head rather than a natural bucktail hair dressed jig. Lead head with a hook, put a gulp on it, send it down, or put a strip bait, natural bait, send it down. Kind of want to see what you think, in terms of this summertime. Is there any suggestions you can give to someone watching and say, hey, I want to check out the Fluke scene. I'm not a fluker. What should I do? What should I gear up with? Maybe you tell them, hey, get this product and this product and a little of this, and you'll have a successful trip, something like that.
Yeah. Just like you said, it's unfortunately it's we're living in a pretty tough time right now. This coronavirus is whether you believe in it fully or what's going on, it's pretty sad that we're living the life that we are right now, and it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
We could all joke about it, but my family, I have 3 children, my wife and myself. And it's hard. It's really hard that, we're almost at each other's throats. And it's, when you have 3 children are not meant to be pent up in a house.
Yep.
And, and my poor wife, she's here with them all day long. At least I get to go to the work and fish when I can, but it's extremely tough. And hopefully, they allow us, the one saving grace that we as humans need is we need to be able to do the things we want to do. The parks need to open, the beaches need to open, because that's what's going to keep our sanity,
Yeah.
So I disagree, wholeheartedly with Governor Murphy's decisions on closing these parks, and closing these beaches, because that's what we need.
Yeah.
Small businesses. But
did we lose you?
What?
I think I lost you for a second. You're back. You're back. You're back.
You know, it's
Sorry.
you know, I have a tremendous amount of very good friends that are struggling right now. You know,
Yeah.
it's tough, and I think we need to open up a little bit more. I mean, I know it's
a safe, effective way for sure.
yeah.
So
I mean,
Coach K2 asks, how do we order your bucktails? So if you're from New York, man, reach out, fishermansheadquarters.com, go in the search bar, type in Magictail. You can look under all the brand Magictail, and you see all the products that we list. You can also send us a message here on Instagram if you want to touch base on a specific one that we talked about. Let's say you're interested in the hoochies. Fishermansheadquarters.com, search bar, search hoochie, and it's going to come up. If you, like I said, got questions, give us a call. Send us a message. No problem. We'll get the order out same day. Just to go back to that Fluke thing, if you're going to say there's somebody who's not, say, well-versed in Magictail products, that says, hey, I've Fluke fished before, never fished Magictail, would you suggest any one or two products to say, hey, get this for this Fluke season? I'm going to, not guarantee, but I have full faith that this is going to up your Fluke.
Yeah. I mean, one good thing, again, about Fisherman's Headquarters for the guys who are on here and watching is they literally carry pretty much everything we have. Roundhead bucktails, it's the only shop out of 100 shops that even have it. I don't make it from anybody but Greg. So he has these smaller bucktails, and what do you got? A white shart, yellow over white.
Yeah.
You know, that's a cheaper bucktail. Hoochies, I'm 100% on board with hoochies. You know, and Swags is on here. I'm pretty sure Swags is, what is Swags fish? I'm pretty sure hoochies and leadheads as well, correct?
Yeah, he's a hoochie lover for sure.
Yeah, and I know Max on here too. Max caught like an 8-9 pounder on him. So in our bays, fishing around here, I fish a little differently than most people, but you know, in our bays, a 3/8 ounce, half ounce is very adequate for what we need.
Yep.
I'm fishing more of a 3/4 or 1 ounce, a larger bucktail or a larger hoochie, but I'm fishing a 5 or 6 inch grub.
Okay.
So I'm not going to catch as many, but I'm weeding out a lot of the smaller fish, you know, that catch more of the keepers.
So now a quick question with that, not to cut you off, but just so some people know, when you fish that bigger bait, are you losing a lot of tails and you're consistently rebating, or do you put an extra stinger on there?
In the ocean, I put an extra stinger on there.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to get that out there.
I don't, and I do fish some 6 inch, but since I guess last year was the first year, right? They came out with the 5 inch.
Yeah.
5 inch is money. You know, it's money. It's just a bigger bait, and you know,
so shout out Nick Cicero at Folsom was the one who went to Berkeley and requested that 5 inch. He said your 6 inch is great, but I want the 5 inch. He said it in the swim mullets to them, and he also did a presentation about the grub, the big, you know, the most popular 6 inch grub, to make that a 5 inch, and they actually backdoored his ass, which was to me a really bad kind of low blow from the guys at Berkeley. So if anybody knows those guys, it's definitely I think the guy should be kind of slapped around for not helping out Nick, who's at Folsom. Anybody who knows Folsom, they're a distributor that helps out a bunch of small tackle shops throughout the industry. But Nick's the one who came along and said, hey, I want to order a bunch of these. I want to sell them to all these shops. And then they kind of did the old backdoor deal and then gave them to the guys at Dick's because somebody kind of scratches somebody's ass there, or however they do it, powder their butt. And
that's what happens when you deal with the big guys.
Yeah, and they got this exclusive deal. So now that it's a year later, all the other independents can kind of get in there on the game, you know, and kind of have their way at it. But just real quick, before we get back on anything else, Vin Haas Jewelry, I'm super stoked you've been following this whole time because I commented, replied to your message or commented to your comment previously. So I know you were on there earlier, say an hour ago. As far as our sign, man, last Monday we had a gnarly blow come by. Huge. I mean, the winds were stronger this storm than I think Sandy. And basically, there's a lot of damage. The roof that went down in ship bottom. But yes, our Fisherman's Headquarters sign out front got blown out. Yes, it survived Sandy. No, it did not survive this past Sunday's, say, 80-mile-an-hour blow.
Crazy.
So that whole lens blew out. No, we did not sell the place. My father, Stan, is the owner. He bought the business in 1984. He's owned the business from then on. I'll tell you, there's no plans to sell the business. I'm 33 years old, and I plan to eventually run the shop full time and run it until I'm 90 years old. So that's just heads up. Just because our signs out is not we're closing. I'm in the process right now of getting